So finally, we've been given a definition of a casual. So the question of what makes a casual has been a major cause of concern for employers, especially in recent years due to some of the court cases. You may have heard of Skeen, Risotto, Workpack, things like that. So here we go. A person is now considered a casual employee if they accept a job offer from an employer knowing that there's no firm advance commitment to ongoing work with an agreed pattern of work. So the way that they'll determine whether at the time the offer was made that the employer made no firm advance commitment to providing ongoing work with an agreed pattern is they're going to check 4 things. First one is whether the employer can elect to offer work and whether the employee can elect to accept or reject work, whether the employee will work as required according to the needs of the employer, whether the employment is defined and described as casual employment, so those words are actually used to term the employment arrangement, and the 4th one is whether the employee will be entitled to a casual loading or a specific rate of pay for casual employees under the terms of the offer or Fair Work instrument. So it's all about the nature of the offer that was accepted by the employee. The question of whether a person is a casual employee is now going to be assessed solely on the basis of the offer that was accepted, not on the basis of any subsequent conduct of either party. So I can hear you saying, can I hire someone as a casual and still assign them a regular pattern of hours? The answer to that is yes, because a regular pattern of hours does not in itself indicate a firm advance commitment to continuing an indefinite work according to agreed pattern of hours. So once the casual has been offered and accepted a casual position, knowing that there's no firm advance commitment to ongoing work with agreed pattern of work, they'll continue to be a casual until they either stop being employed by the employer, for example, they resign or they're terminated, or they become a permanent employee, which can happen by one of 2 ways. Either they're offered and accept the offer of a full-time or part-time position, or through casual conversion, which will be explained in one of our other videos. So just as an aside here, they've also repealed the definition of long-term casual employee, and they've actually introduced a new definition, which is regular casual employee. So a regular casual employee is now defined under Section 12 of the Fair Work Act as a casual employee who's been employed by the employer on a regular and systematic basis. So with this change, what has changed? Just to review, unlike in the past, the casual employment relationship is now assessed at the point of offer and acceptance, not at all based on the nature of the employee's ongoing work hours. So what to do now? Well, it's all about your employment contracts, because there has to be evidence that an employer, you, have made the offer of employment stipulating that there's no firm advance commitment being given to continuing an indefinite work according to agreed pattern of work, and there has to be evidence that the person has accepted the offer knowing that there's no firm advance commitment. So you now need to make sure your casual employment contracts or enterprise agreement clearly communicate this. So depending on what, if any, HR documentation you have in place that states the employment, that outlines the legal employment arrangement you have with your casuals, depending on what you have in place, you'll need to take the following steps. So for those of you who don't have employment contracts drafted for your casuals, you've got one thing to do, and that is to get casual employment contracts drafted. If you do already have employment contracts for your casuals, you've got 2 things to do. The first one is conduct a review of those employment contracts. And what you're checking for here is whether the wording in the employment contract meets that new definition of what a casual is and whether it communicates those 4 determining factors that I went through there. And the second thing that you need to do is, if your employment contracts don't meet those definitions and have those details in them, then we strongly recommend that you draft an amendment or variation stating these points and have the employee sign it, so that your casuals will then legally be defined and categorized as per the new definition, and you have this legal document as evidence the position was offered and that the position was accepted. Now, some of you may have enterprise agreements. So for you guys, there's 2 things to do. First, conduct a review of it and check whether the wording meets the new definition and whether it communicates the 4 determining factors I went through. And the second thing to do is, if your employment enterprise agreement doesn't, then we strongly recommend you make an application to vary your enterprise agreement. And excuse me, they've brought out a new form to do that you can use. It's called Form F23C. It's called Application for the Commission to Vary an Enterprise Agreement to Resolve Uncertainty or Difficulty. So there you go. That's in a nutshell, briefly, all about the Fair Work Amendment, about the new definition of casual employment and what you need to do. Hope you found that helpful.